So today's video is going to be one of those videos where it might offend some people, it might not, but it needs to be said. And I am going to express certain things that I find annoying about the Indigenous community and, a little bit about the Black community too, when it comes to this whole identification about being Indigenous American. Now, what made me decide to make this video is because I wanted to do this video for a while now, but I was just back and forth like, nah, let me not say anything. But when I saw that my Chief Lavelle, had posted a video that he's done, it is well spoken, very well spoken. I'm not going to be as well spoken as him, but he had put up a video talking about the crayon color wars, and go check it out. I left it in my community tab, and he mentioned about certain communities that can be a bit, narcissist. And I'm like, okay, somebody said it. So I'm just putting my response to that, or more like an add on to that, because I was saying this for a while now. So when it comes to the Indigenous community, there are two groups right now that I find annoying. And one of them, mind you, within my family, I have people who look like both sides. So you have the Aboriginal Indigenous community, and then you have there's no particular name for it, but it's like the white passing, an Asian look community of Indians. And I have people in my family that look like both sides. So I'm not throwing jabs just because, but anyway, so I'm gonna start with this group first. So when it comes to the white passing, Asian looking Indigenous people, and yes, I'm going to use looks in this video because there's no way I can work around it. And I know some people don't like when people talk about looks and all that stuff because it doesn't matter. But in this case, this it's it is it's the big reason of this annoyance in these communities. So yeah, I got to use the whole looks. So when it comes to the white passing Asian look aside, what I find annoying about some of you guys, not everybody's doing this, but I do see some people doing this. I don't like when you guys look at Black people who are finding their Indigenous ancestors and y'all saying, oh, you guys are not Indigenous, you guys are Africans, you guys came from the whole slave trade and whatnot. I find that annoying because if these people are finding their Indigenous ancestors, who are you to tell them you're wrong about your ancestors? They came from here. Like, you are not the Indigenous Americans. Who are you to say that? And then on top of that, some of you guys will accept it, but instead of calling the Blacks who are finding their Indigenous ancestors Indigenous Americans, you guys are calling them Afro-Indigenous. Now, I don't know who made up the term. Maybe it was a Black person. I don't know. But I don't mind the term if it's correctly used on somebody who is Afro-Indigenous, like somebody who is African mixed with Indigenous American. However, if there are Black people who are finding their Indigenous ancestors and haven't found any African ancestors, why are you still calling them Afro-Indigenous? They should just be Indigenous American. And, it goes both ways because there are people on this side of the spectrum who are mixed as well. You have people who are white mixed with Indigenous and whatever else is going on this side. But I don't hear none of you guys call yourselves like European Indigenous or Euro Indigenous. It's just Indigenous. And I feel like if you're going to call this group Afro Indigenous, you might as well call yourself Euro Indigenous, because you are recognizing, you you are basically saying they're not full, and you're looking at yourself like you're full when you're not. Okay, we're all mixed here. We're all mixed. So that's what I dislike about this community. Moving right along, so the next group, which is the Aboriginal Indigenous group, what I find annoying about this side, and not all of you guys are doing this, but a lot of you guys are doing this. So what I dislike about this side is y'all are saying that the original Indigenous Americans are the dark-skinned black man, right? Cool, whatever. However, though, there are different complexions when it comes to the Indigenous Americans. First of all, the United States is very huge. Different climates. You got the north, you got the south, the east, the west. Like, it's different everywhere you go. And you're gonna have some people who are more lighter on the north, and then people who are more browner in the south. Um, and I'm not saying that there was no dark skins in the north and there's no light skins in the south, but however, it's just too much going on out here. And there was just multiple complexions. Who are you to say that the light skinned man is not also the original? Um, I had posted a picture on like a previous video that I did like a couple months ago of one of my great great grandfathers who is full Indigenous American, and he's not mixed with white. Like, I've checked. I don't know how far back I have to go to like find the white ancestor, but I haven't found any. And he's a light skinned person. His mother is from South Carolina. His father was from Georgia. So I don't know. There you go. But yeah, like, I find that very very annoying, and I knew this was coming. This was coming a mile away. And the reason why I saw this coming is because there is a lot of colorism in the black community. And people think that colorism goes only one way, but it goes both ways. There are people in the black community who discriminate against light skinned people. However, since light skins are like the minority of the blacks, our voices don't get heard as much, so therefore it gets overlooked. And for some reason, you think we're like privileged or something, but like, okay, where's my yacht? All right, if I'm so privileged, where's all my shit? I have to work hard to get where I need to go. But yeah, so I just find that very very annoying. And it's crazy. You had light-skinned people who were basically sticking up for dark skins who are finding their indigenous ancestors. Like, we would tell the white Asian look aside, like, dark skins are indigenous too. So to see dark skins be like, y'all ain't the real indigenous Americans either, it's kind of like, for me, not a slap in the face, because I saw this from a mile away, but to certain people, it's a slap in the face, because it's like, wait a minute, I thought we was all in this together. I find that crazy because my family, we come in all different complexions, and my mom's side, they're more, majority is more light skin to brown skin. My dad's side has the dark skin, light skin, brown skin. And just really quick, so my dad's dark skin. Both his parents were dark skin. My father's father, he was dark skin, but his sister, same parents, came out light skin. My father's mother, she was dark skin, but her brother, same parents, came out light skin. And this is mad random. Well, not really, but my dad's grandparents, his grandfather, I saw a picture of him, and his grandfather was light skinned, and his grandmother was dark skinned, and the grandfather looks like I said, mad random, but he looks like, if you know of, what's his name? He's in the Indigenous community also. Um, he goes by the name of Turtle Gang. My father's grandfather looks like him, like same nose, same complexion, like face structure, everything. So that's just a quick example. So my point is that we all come in different complexions. So the need to say, oh, the dark skin is the original indigenous, when, like, who are you to say that? Yeah, that's what I dislike about you guys. Luckily, there are some tribes who do not care whether you're like white, Asian looking, or, just black looking, as long as you can prove that you could trace your ancestor back to that specific tribe. They don't care. Like my tribe, I'm really grateful to be a part of, because the tribe that I'm in, which is the Cape Fear Tuscarora Indians, they do not care whether you're light, brown, dark, as long as you can prove that you could trace your ancestor back to that particular region. So you do have tribes who are very neutral, and then you have groups who are just like, it's very, in a way, narcissist, because people are just looking at their identity, and they're like, this is the hierarchy, basically. Like anybody else who looks a little bit different, whatever, like, you can't be one of us. There is no way. um I get it a little bit, not to be a hypocrite, but I get it just a little bit, because when you go to certain places like China and whatnot, everybody has like a unique look to them. So when you come out here, it's like, why everybody's looking like so many different things? It doesn't, something's not right. But a lot of us are mixed, whether people want to accept it or not. So yeah. Another group that I find annoying, which is not in the indigenous community, is when it comes to the black community. And okay, I'm gonna just say it. So when it comes to the black community, and you have blacks who are finding their indigenous ancestors, or who are seeking to find them, you have certain blacks that are just like, well, we all go back to Africa, right? That happened to me. So I've been researching my Lenape side. Matter of fact, ever since, it's been a few months now, and I've had some family who told me that there are relatives who still participate in like the powwows and stuff like that, and we are connected to the Lenape. Um, for those who don't know, I'm from New York. I live in Staten Island, and when I hear about my side of the Lenape spectrum, my family's been living on this island for like a long, long time, and their stories of one of my ancestors was a chief out here. So I'm like the Lenape of Staten Island. However, I've been to Ramapo, which is located in Jersey, so I have a lot to learn about all of this stuff. But I told this person in the community that I'm looking to find my Lenape side. Like, I want to know about it. And this person had the nerve to tell me, well, we all go back to Africa at the end of the day. And to me, I find that very disrespectful, because, first of all, why do y'all only do that to us? Like, for an example, my boyfriend, he is half Chinese. He looks damn near full, but he's half Chinese, and no one tells him, well, we all go back to Africa at the end of the day. Like, no one tells him to just call yourself African. It's like, oh, okay, he's Chinese. Same thing, same with the whites and everybody else. But for some reason, when it comes to Black Americans, we're not, it's like a silent rule of we're not allowed to like branch off and try to find where our ancestors came from. It's like, nope, you're African slave trade, that's it. So I find that disrespectful, and you're kind of disregarding everything that my ancestors have done and have contributed to this whole migration. And you're basically telling me to just forget my history and just stick to your narrative. And it's particularly the ones who do resemble more of that African look. And it's like, yeah, like the higher ups of that. So it's like anybody who wants to branch off, it kind of, you kind of lose your power in a sense, because the more people that branch away, the more you low key lose your power over this unknown spoken pedestal. And yeah, that's what I dislike. And I've learned to just be like, okay, I will not say certain things to certain people. I'm going to just move in silence. And whoever I can connect with, I will. But to everybody else that is just like, you're African. Mm, mm, mm. One more thing that I find annoying from that side, the black side, and also I see more of the white or Asian looking Indians doing this. I don't really see too much of the Aboriginal, Indigenous people doing this. Of course, I can't see y'all doing this, but I just like how, yeah, really push that slave Atlantic history. Now, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. But for those who can't find that in their ancestry, have traced their ancestors as far back as like 1720s, 1690, or some crap like that. For those who trace their ancestors back that far and still haven't found any slaves, ancestors, why do y'all still want to push that on them? Um, you have people who have that type of ancestry history where their ancestors were part of the African slave trade. And then you have some who is just like, no, I can't find that in my family tree. I dislike how you still push that narrative onto them, because it's like you want your narrative to be so true, you just can't accept the fact that maybe, just maybe, there were black looking indigenous people out here. For me, so far, I can't find any. I mean, I found indentured servants, but those were some of the white ancestors in my tree, the very few. Um, but I can't find any African um slave ancestors, and I'm still open minded to that. And when I find them, I'll talk about it. But as of right now, I haven't found any, and that's okay. Like, I don't know why that needs to be pushed to me. Like, no, you come from the African slave trade. When it's like, I'm finding something different, and that's okay. And even if I do find that one African slave ancestor, that doesn't mean I'm just automatically full African and I need to disregard everybody else. It's like every single one of my ancestors are important in my tree, and they all should be represented. That's why I call myself Indigenous Mix, because I am an Indigenous mixed person. And the reason why I say Indigenous mostly is because it's very dominant in my family tree. Every one of my ancestors that came out here, they all mixed in with the Indigenous people. Um, so yeah, like, if that's the case, if I gotta put this one African ancestor on a pedestal, then I should do that to everybody else. Like, I barely talk about my Spanish side on this channel. I don't feel connected to that side. It's been a while. It's been a few generations now. I have a Cuban ancestor who escaped Cuba, came out here illegally a very long time ago, and she married a Mexican ancestor of mine. I'm very far disconnected from the Mexican and the Cuban. Another thing, I have Barbados and my family tree, and my history with that is there was a a guy who came from England. So I have an English ancestor. He went to Barbados to start a sugar plantation. But what had happened was he fell in love with a Honduran woman and they got married. And funny thing is, his sister went to go visit him in Barbados, and when she saw that he was married to a Honduran woman, she went back to England and was just like, they didn't like the fact that he did that. So this English guy married a Honduran woman, lived in Barbados, made kids, and later on and so forth, they came out here, the descendants, and married into the Lenape. So yeah, I have all of that. I don't. That's the case, I might as well just call myself Honduran, Cuban, Mexican, whatever. But it's been so long. They probably go as far back as the African ancestor. Well, it's been like 4 or 5 generations. I gotta check my family tree again. It's been like 4 or 5 generations. I found them first before the African ancestors. So what I'm saying is, they're all equally important. I'm not gonna override one for your narrative. And recently I came across my Mediterranean heritage. I got an Italian ancestor, but also it goes down to like all the way down to the Middle East. Like, so the point is I don't even walk around calling myself Middle Eastern. And one more thing, because I feel like I'm rambling. So my dad, years ago, he went to get his blood checked, and his doctor was just so shocked because he's Egyptian. He got Egyptian in his blood because of something to do with, I think, malaria, and how malaria started in Egypt. Something significant to malaria and Egyptians. I don't know. I gotta ask my dad again. And maybe that can explain why certain Black Indigenous out here have a different type of look, because there is history of Moors being out here, the Berbers and all that stuff. So I don't know. In the regions that my dad's father comes from, there's been history of Berbers being there, and Virginia. It's too much. So there's a lot going on. We're very mixed, but we shouldn't have to hide our Indigenous side to big up your narrative. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. To wrap this up, because I know this is going to be a lengthy video, but it needed to be said. What makes this all worth it for me, and the reason why I make these videos from time to time, is because when I was on my Indigenous researching, I've took a break from it, but I'm about to like go back in. But during the time when I was really heavy on it with the research, I had came across my chief's channel. At the time, didn't know the guy. I didn't even know that he was the chief of the tribe, but he had made a video talking about his ancestors being from Whiteville, Columbus County, Bladen County, Wilmington, all these places of the south of North Carolina. And I was like, oh my gosh, my family is from these places. It's in my records: Whiteville, Columbus County, Bladen, Wilmington, Mount Olive, all these places by the Wackamow Lake. And I reached out to him, and he was really nice to answer back. And um, we exchanged emails, and I was telling him everything about my family, and it went from there. And next thing you know, I'm going down to North Carolina, and now I'm in the tribe. And because I used the internet for that type of purpose, now I'm in the tribe. And I feel like there are other people that are in the position that I was in before. And I feel like YouTube is a really great place to like utilize this and connect. And matter of fact, there is somebody, I don't know if he watches my video still, but recently I had somebody reach out to me. He found me on YouTube, and he was telling me about his family and his connection to that part of North Carolina. And he has certain last names in his family that is very common in the Tuscarora community. So I went ahead and reached out to my chief and told my chief about him, and see if he can connect with anybody to find out, because it's a lot, but hopefully he can connect with certain people. I think he already has. And by April, when the enrollment opens up, he can like enroll in the tribe when he makes all the connections. So this is why I still make these videos, because I feel like those type of moments is worth it, connecting everybody back. And this is what it's all about, because how can we build if nobody's connecting? You know what I mean? Just saying. Oh my God, I've been talking a lot, but it needed to be said, and I hope I made this very clear. And I can't help who it's going to offend. It is what it is. But those are the things I find very annoying within these communities, and we need to do better. That's not, I mean, human nature is something else, so I can't really see that happening. But hopefully we can do better. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. And yeah.